Hi, it's Corey with Freedom Investing Group and with Freedom Community Management. And today I'm going to open up the hood and show you what's underneath as far as how we run our management company that manages the parks that we buy. So as a refresher from a previous video, I'll show you a really quick, pretty quick graph. Pretty quick graph of how we're set up. So Thomas, Celia, and I own Freedom Investing Group. Freedom Investing Group, every time we purchase a park, will be the managing member of a new LLC. Investors will invest, and that LLC will purchase the park and hire Freedom Community Management, which is our sister company that manages our properties. Thomas and I are the managing members of Freedom Community Management, and we have one employee, Axel, who is awesome so far. At some point, we'll have number two. But so what I'm going to talk about today is Freedom Community Management and what we do and how we do it, and really how we keep things organized, because there's a lot of stuff that we have to remember to do. And so how do we do that? How do we keep track of all of the maintenance requests, all of the collections, all of the violations, which are mostly just people needing to clean up their yards so that it doesn't look like a mess for their neighbors. How do we keep track of what needs to get done by when? How do we make sure that we remember to pay the property taxes on time? And that how do we find vendors and all of this? So there's a lot that goes on as far as running a park. Even though most of the homes are tenant owned, so we don't have a lot of like leaky sink calls, although we do have a few, because we might have in the Arizona property, we have a single family house that's an actual rental, and sometimes we do end up with some park owned homes that the long-term plan will be to sell, but we have tenants renting them at the time. So we'll have some issues with that, but we've also got just things always come up. So what I'm going to do is, first off, what are we trying to do as FIG and Freedom Community Management? What is our goal? What is our mission? So I'm going to bring up our mission, our one-page business plan here that we put together. And our mission is to provide financial freedom for investors and help solve the affordable housing crisis by improving manufactured home communities to make them clean, safe, and economically viable. So how do we make them clean, safe, and economically viable? We try to improve them. We make them clean places. We make sure that they're cleaned up. We do spring cleanups where we'll cater the event and have a dumpster for tenants to clean it up. We try to take care of any safety issues that we know of, and economically viable. That means that we've got to make sure the bills are paid, that the rent's coming in, that we actually get our collections, and that they can stand on their own 2 feet financially, so that we don't go under and have to sell them to someone else who might want to redevelop them into a warehouse or something and kick all the residents out and they all lose their homes, right? We don't want that. So we economically viable, I think, is a really important thing too. So that's our mission. So how does the day-to-day look? Let me show you how we organize. So this is Asana. This is what we use to track everything. Anything, if it's not in here, it won't get done. This is where every single task lives. And so in Asana, you've got a number of things called tasks. And so you've got a number of things called tasks. And so each task you can have information, you can have links to files, and you can have subtasks on things that need to get done. And each task can have an owner. In this case, I'm the owner of this one. There's a water tank replacement project going on at Park Meadowland West. And for any task that you are the owner of, you can see all of your tasks across all of your projects in your My Tasks. And I'll do a whole nother thing on how I organize all these things in here and keep track of what's the most important thing to do on what day. But I'm going to go back to my PMW. So each task can get tagged to what's called a project in Asana. So let's open up this one, for example. This is, there's an abandoned, number 6 is an abandoned home that we are working on getting the title back to so that we can eventually sell it and bring a new resident in. So what we do is every task in here gets tagged, all of the ongoing, the major ones that fit most of these buckets that aren't just some little quick thing, get tagged to 2 different projects. I don't know if you can see me on the screen, but I'm using air quotes. So these projects are, it gets tagged to the project that's associated with the property that it's in. And so in this case, this is a Park Meadowland West. This is in Illinois, and this is a home. And so we have a make ready, and we put it into the section that corresponds to what it is. So in this case, we call make ready basically anything where we are trying to make a vacant pad ready to put someone in it. So it could be bringing a home in, it could be rehabbing it, getting the title back in this case. We actually have people who want to buy this and we just need to get the title. So we're working on it. Then whatever this section is, there's another project that we put it into, another corresponding project. So this is in the make ready section of Park Meadowland West. So we also put it into the make ready project. And so every task across all the different mobile home parks that's a make ready task will go to the make ready project. So if you come into make ready, you can see the status of all of our make readies. You can see, untitled, that popped in here. That's a section that shouldn't be there. Okay, so new tasks would come, new items would come into this new column here. And then when we do our review, which I'll get to in a second, that's super weird. When we do our review, which I'll get to in a second, we will go and we will look at all the ones in the new column and we will assign them a next action. So we operate on the David Allen's GTD principles of trying to, when we have a goal like we want to fill this Glen Street, we want to fill this empty space. That's the goal. And so then we don't try to define every single step to get there, because as soon as you take 2 steps, all of that planning is going to go out the window, and because you're going to learn something new. So what we do is we define the end goal, and we always make sure we have a next action. And so then we'll go through, and in this case, our next action is that Tammy, our wonderful on-site person, is going to call around and look for used mobile homes. That's the action, but we have to have some kind of an action that's in somebody's court on each one of these things so that the ball keeps moving forward. And then when that gets done, that action gets checked off. And when we come back to do our review, we go through and we make sure we have a next action. And I like to put them in different columns. Each of these projects has a different column set up. In this case, it's new, then it's work in progress, which is we're working on it. And then we've got it, hey, whatever we needed to do to get it ready, now it's ready, ready to sell. So we have 2 here that you can see that we have listed that we're trying to sell. And then once they're sold, we'll move them over here and click them into done. And you can see the completed. You can come in here and find completed ones. I guess we didn't do a very good job of moving them to the right column, but you can see that we filled a bunch so far, and we're working on others. So that's how this works. And so in this project, this Make Ready project, you can see all of the homes that are in our Make Ready status across all of our parks. SRH is Santa Rita Heights, Glen Street, Foley, Country Acres, PMW down here. That's the one we were looking at before, Park Meadowland West. So you can see all of the Make Readies across all of our things. And you can do the same thing. And so we have a bunch of categories here that we would put things in. Collections, which is maybe a topic for another day. I got to figure out how to blur out names on the screen before I do that one, because I don't want to put any actual tenants' names up there. But when residents are late with their payments, then they go into the collections category, and each resident gets a tab, and there's columns for what step they're in the collections process. And then as they make their payment, we check them off as done. There's tenant prospects. So if there's new tenants, there's a tenant prospect process where we do a screening report, we review it, and then we either approve and move them in, or reject. So they move across the board there. I've already covered Make Ready. Maintenance, this is one of our bigger ones. So on these, I break them into same thing, new, where we have to define a next action, and then we've got projects that are on hold. So these, for one reason or another, are not active right now. Foley Road repair, for instance, where we are planning on doing that next spring. So that's just not quite active yet. And the city's doing a construction project outside the park entrance, so we can't do lawn care out there right now because it's all ripped up, for instance. Those are on hold. And then we move them every week when we do our review. We'll move them one way or the other, whether we're waiting on someone else or if there's an action in our court, and then we'll define what that action is. So in this case, the single family home that we need to repair, at Glen Street. We've got a bunch of scope defined in here on things that we need to do. And the next actions are to call a bunch of people to get quotes. And so Axel is on top of that. And then if we're waiting on stuff, then they go into this category and we say what we're waiting on. The Park Meadowland West tank replacement. This is a big project that we're doing at Park Meadowland West, replacing the whole water tank and water system for the park, basically. This one, and when we review this, we're going to have to put a next action here because there's not one here. But this will be we're waiting for the contractor to, they fenced the area off, so we're waiting for them to start foundations on the new building. And so then as we go through and review these, we make sure there's a next action. And if something has been waiting on for a while, we'll make another action to follow up on it and make sure that things are progressing. We've got the same thing for violations. If there's, I'm not going to open that one because I don't want to embarrass any tenants, and a lot of those violations they're typically not major, but they could be noise, it could be parking. Usually it's just a bunch of stuff in the yard that someone needs to clean up. We've got complaints. If tenants have complaints, then we definitely have stuff in here. We just found out that Foley, for instance, Foley is there's a lock issue on the mailbox. So there's an action in our court to call the post office and see if they can come out and fix the mailbox. The manager at Park Meadowland West let us know, like, hey, the entrance is pretty dark. So is there something we can do about that? So we're buying some solar light. We actually bought the solar light and we're buying a pole to mount it on. So we're gonna try putting a solar light at the solar street light at the entrance to brighten it up for them. So you can see there's issues, we try to make sure that we've always got next actions and we're moving them along over to the completed column eventually. So we're trying to make progress on all of these things. So so that's kind of how we do it. So, and then I guess the last thing is none of this stuff matters if you don't actually look at it. So what we do is, when I meet with Axel, which I do daily, 5 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, we've broken it up. Wednesday's more of a general meeting for whatever we need to catch up on. Monday, we go through collections, violations, and complaints. Tuesday, we go through maintenance issues. Thursday, we review all the make ready and tenant prospects. And Friday, we review what's called other, which is anything that doesn't fit into another category. And so on each of those days, we review all of the things in each of those projects and make sure there's a next action and it's assigned, and whoever's that next action court that action is in, they know they have to do it. So that's kind of what we do. It's our weekly rhythm. And then there's some other things that maybe don't fit into these categories but are recurring things, such as the spring cleanup. So this one, you can see that it's set for Axel every April to schedule the spring cleanup at Park Meadowland West. And this is something we like to do at all our parks. Is a spring cleanup, a chance for the residents to come together, appreciate the nice weather once they're getting out of winter, and we get a big dumpster where they can clean up the park, get rid of stuff that's been accumulating in their yards or around the park. They can help each other just make it a nicer place to be, and we'll usually buy some pizza or some barbecue or some kind of food and make it kind of a fun event for them. And so this is recurring. So you can see this is every April 1st, this will pop up into Axel's court to schedule this thing. And we have that for each of our parks. There's property tax reminders, that kind of thing. So you can have recurring items. Sometimes there's quick little things. Sometimes there's quick little things up here in the, if there's just some quick little thing that doesn't need this whole process, it's just like, hey, call this person back or something, that might go into the quick and easy task section. But that is how we organize it using Asana. Asana is a great tool as far as keeping everybody organized, and you can attach all the files you need for each project. You can attach files, put links, put contact info, everything you need. Everything you need for a task, you can make sure it's available right there, so whoever's working on it can have access to it. But if you don't have a good system, the thing with Asana is it's very flexible. You can do a lot with it. But if you don't have a good system and everybody just comes in and starts making things willy-nilly and you don't organize them and have a good process for reviewing it, then it can become really cluttered and kind of out of control very, very quickly. So having a good organized system that you review regularly has helped us quite a bit. So hope you enjoyed that. I hope that is helpful. And yeah, whether you're running a mobile home park or just keeping track of your chores at home, get yourself organized a little bit. It makes life a little easier. So cheers.